Oilersnation Everyday with your hosts, Tyler and Liam.
So, Mike Babcock, what did you really do in Columbus? Well, let's get into it with the lead. Could have been anything. Could have been a boat.
Wow. Significant is the word. And then Frank went on to say serious in Frankly Hockey. Significant and serious.
Oh, man.
Usually these are used about my financial situation. No, it's about the Oilers, their would-be next head coach.
This is unbelievable stuff. Welcome into Oilersnation Everyday. The show is a presentation of Bet365, where you can use their 3-goal early payout. Right, Aaron? Okay, you can use their 3-goal early payout.
15 points in the NBA.
15 points in the NBA. I know they have them for like a variety of sports. You wouldn't have got it for last night's game 4, but it was a great game nevertheless. Actually, what, Dave? Was it 3-0 at one point?
No,
3-1.
it was 2-0 and 3-1.
3-1. Well, you've got it a couple times, so you can't be lucky every night.
Yeah.
Head over to Bet365. You can download their app today and find out everything. NBA Finals tonight, people. Game
4.
3. 4.
Yeah.
What celebrities will be in there? Which jersey will get ripped outside of Madison Square? We're also in the Sports Closet studio. 3 locations: Shore Park, St. Albert Center, and Kingsway Mall. You can go get your new Mike Babcock jerseys. They might be returning some. I don't think we'll be needing them anymore.
No, he just has pen and pads. The pre-ranked list. You know, you can buy stickies, and it's got 1, 2, 3, and you can just fill in what you're ranking.
That would be a hilarious piece of merchandise for us to sell. Of just a list. And it's the Babcock list, and we just put whatever on names on there we want.
BuzzFeed, Watch Mojo, Babcock.
Yeah, who has the best
The
list?
list of the greatest listers.
Watch Mojo. That is something I ever watched. That is a Miss Mojo, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what's on it.
Careful. I mean, since we spoke on
yesterday,
Oilersnation Radio yesterday, a lot has transpired, Liam, with this whole Mike Babcock thing. And it's funny because when we exited the podcast there, I had joked and said, what if the NHLPA doesn't allow this? After we had just, thrown the wiffle ball around for the past hour. Every different which way angle, and I know you've been doing that here on O&E and all the ramifications of Babcock and everything else. And then last night, we get hit with all
wave
this
after
stuff.
Wave. Comment here from McDavid, the Terminator. You guys said no one had anything good to say about Mike Babcock. Well, Brian Lawton was on 880 Ched, and he's very well respected around the league. And he had nothing but good things to say about Babcock. He went on to say, so we will see what happens with the investigation. Most likely nothing will come from it. He didn't do anything illegal. Okay, I take your point. Mike Babcock and Brian Lawton, as someone posted there, is like they've been buddies for a while. I don't know the relationship at all. Mike Babcock off the ice to people outside, I'm sure is perfectly fine to them, especially someone like Brian Lawton, who was a GM in the league. Former first overall pick, all this stuff, agent. Why would Mike Babcock be an arsehole to that guy? Why would he? What does Mike Babcock gain from that? What could that possibly do for Mike Babcock to be negative and an arsehole to someone with as much power as what Brian Lawton would have?
All right.
But you can just go look at all the players if you want. McDavid, the Terminator. You should actually go listen to Mike Commodore's interview with Jason Greggy yesterday, where he called out Mike Babcock, like he has done numerous times before, and said something which I was honestly stunned by, was that it's not the top guys who need to worry about this kind of stuff. Like, we obviously know McDavid. I think Spector wrote yesterday it was McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, and Ekholm who'd spoke of him.
Right.
And Commodore, said, it's not those guys who need to be worried about Mike Babcock. It's the rookies, the bottom of the lineup guys. But then he went on to say something which I thought was just stunning. Like, the equipment staff, the medical staff, I'm sure he said the arena staff too. It's like, how do those guys get dragged into this? And that's what the avenue the Oilers are trying to put themselves down right now for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, to your point, I mean, there are guys like Brendan Shanahan who had been coached under Babcock, who were then part of hiring Babcock.
Yes.
And let's say Toronto. But then when Babcock left Toronto, Shanahan said there were parts of the way he coached that were unacceptable.
He said inappropriate and unacceptable.
Yeah, inappropriate and unacceptable. And I went back last night and went a bit more into the weeds of Babcock's exit in Toronto, Babcock's time in Columbus. One thing that isn't disputed by many of his former players is that Babcock is one of the great hockey minds.
Which I think I did dispute a bit too much yesterday, and I'll walk back on that just quickly.
Sure.
Mike Babcock is obviously one of the greatest coaches of his generation. There's no doubt about it. Look what he did. Look what he accomplished. But does that still work today? We just don't know. It's a mystery. But
Right.
Sorry,
well,
continue.
no, and that's fair to add on. And then there's a lot of former players, named or unnamed, that will say that he's one of the great coaches, but a garbage human being, a scumbag. These are words that are used to describe him that are beyond what you would see from, I guess, your more run-of-the-mill hard-ass coaches. Your Bruce Cassidy's. As we said, Cassidy is not he's not beloved by all his former players or anything like that.
But I don't
It
think he
says
disrespected
friction.
them.
But yeah, it doesn't appear like they crossed lines.
Yeah.
Babcock plays head games with certain players or says one thing and then lies about it publicly about what that player said, like Peter Holland or those types of things. So, I mean, I don't think Babcock being a good coach is under dispute here. What I think is fascinating now is that it appears that what happened in Columbus might be more than what was originally believed, and because Babcock resigned,
Sure.
the NHL didn't investigate,
Yeah.
and now the NHLPA, who collected stuff a few years ago, presented it to Jarmo Kekalainen and John Davidson and said, this is what we have. Columbus wanted Babcock to resign, and he did. So we got part of it, but it appears that there's more, if Sayre Valley is to be believed.
And he should be. And I know that's not what you're saying by any means. Let's get into all of that stuff, Aaron. River Cree. Yeah, River Cree will do. The news brought to you by the River Cree. Get ready, Edmonton. Legendary rock band Collective Soul is coming to the venue at the River Cree Resort and Casino on July 28th for one night only. With iconic hits like Shine, December, and The World I Know, this is your chance to experience one of the rock's more enduring bands live. Tickets are available now at the River Cree Resort and Casino.com or at the River Cree box office. Must be 18 plus. River Cree Resort and Casino. Excitement. Bet on it. There you go. Edmonton Oilers. Excitement. Kinda. Okay, let's get into it. So this is obviously Darren Dreger had the report the other day, and he's been kind of the lead reporter going in on this, getting ahead of everyone. He tweeted out last night at 6:08, just moments away from puck drop in Viva Las Vegas, the NHLPA has asked the NHL to move forward with an investigation into allegations Mike Babcock invaded player privacy during his time in Columbus. Then it was... He continued on. Oh, no, this was this morning. There is no timeline on how quickly this can be carried out. The Oilers are aware of this, players involved, etc. in 2023 will have to be interviewed. If Babcock were to be back at this stage, a league source says there would be no reason to investigate. Wouldn't be back, sorry. What? Yeah, were to back out, my bad. What did you make of these initial reports?
Well,
Were you surprised? I guess that's my first thing, because I think a lot of people were shocked that the PA pushed back.
Yeah, to the extent that it was. I mean, I hadn't gone back and relived that stuff in Columbus yet to see where it all left off. Like, I hadn't quite remembered that it was a resignation.
I think everyone assumes he was fired. He did officially resign.
Right, and I thought that there were two investigations going concurrently where you had the Players Association and the National Hockey League both gathering information, and it seems like, picking up the story from 3 years ago, the PA did a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
But the NHL hadn't necessarily weighed in on that stuff, gathered their own information, or to judge whether that would be worthy of any type of, penalty, suspension, fine, whatever. Right? So it seemed like that story got about, 70, 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
And now we have to actually get to the end of that chapter,
which the NHL clearly wanted to close and not open again.
Right.
They did not want this to happen. I think they assumed when Babcock was done in Columbus, he would just be done.
Well, and there would be no need, because if he's not an employee of a team, if he isn't part of the league,
what does it matter?
Then they don't really need to do that.
But
right?
also, too, I think another side of it, which is interesting, if the league is now, like Dreg is saying, like, no, they won't do it if the Oilers and Babcock back out of this. Maybe they should do it. Maybe they should do it, and maybe they should be like, you're not fit to coach in this league. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of other people who probably shouldn't be in the positions of power that they are as well. But this is just a situation they're in at the moment, and maybe they should have handled things differently, yada, yada, yada. Kevin says, I'm sick of the butter soft BF. Toughen up. If Babs didn't break the law, get him. Go hard after torts, if not Babs. 97 and 29 are all in, so let's go. Okay, I think one thing needs to be clarified with Mike Babcock, and we're all very aware clearly that Mike Babcock, as far as we know, didn't break the law. And I'm not calling him a criminal, obviously, when I say as far as I know. But there is an investigation now currently open.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he should be allowed to coach just because he didn't break the law. If you're a bad person and you've manipulated people like he has and just like kind of destroyed them a little bit mentally for periods of their lives, that is not a reasonable person to be on the bench in the NHL. And I think that's just where I'm at. And as much as like 97 and 29 are in for it, like Kevin says, and by all reports from Spectre and multiple other people, they're correct. Like, these guys seem to want him. Do they want him in January when they're just getting screamed at every day? And like Trent Frederick's done whatever, and Evan Bouchard's getting benched in games for, there could be a bunch of stuff, and those are just examples. It's just like, is this the guy just because he's a hard ass? Like, Berube's won as many Stanley Cups as Mike Babcock. Right. So is John Tortorella up to this point. And like you said, Kevin, is like, just go get Tortorella. I don't think Tortorella and Babcock are like that close in terms of like personality, because we all know, and we spoke about this yesterday, Babcock, bad guy. A lot of baggage. Tortorella, I think he has his spats with players and everything, of course. Like, he's a tough-nosed coach. But I don't think he's disrespectful to his players.
And he doesn't embarrass his players.
He doesn't embarrass them. And I know there was the stuff with Cam York. He just benched him, if I'm not mistaken. There wasn't really much more than that, was there? They had a bit of a disagreement. They didn't get along. But like, it wasn't like anything that bad. It was just hockey-related stuff. Right. Unless I'm wrong on that, and then I'll hold my hands up. But like, that's what my assumption is, Kevin. And like, I think it's fine to say is like, people are acting soft about it. It's like, but man, this guy's just a bully, and you shouldn't allow the bullies to progress when they don't deserve to, is kind of my whole angle on this.
Right. And I think like the league in the powers that be have approached this in the scenario that, look, they're staring back at the Oilers and saying, do you really want us to go through all this? Like, I think they're giving the Oilers
a big out.
An out here and saying, look, Babcock may have told you certain things about what happened in Columbus.
Yeah.
Right? But is that the full truth? We don't know. So either the Oilers are trusting Babcock. They must have some information of their own about what they think transpired 3 years ago. But the league and the PA are staring back and saying, look, okay, if you really want us to go through this, okay, we will. But how long is that going to take?
Yeah.
Like, when you hear the words NHL and investigation back to back, you don't think, well, that'll be, well, what day's the day? Well, by the end of the weekend, we'll have our answer.
Yeah.
No. Right? Like, that's going to take some time here. and further complicate the Oilers, head coaching search. So
yeah, like how long are they? If they're not even willing to wait a week for Bruce Cassidy to potentially be available, they're not going to wait for Babcock.
Right.
Unless like this thing is somehow over within days, which it just can't be. But I would think the NHL would even like you said, like, be like, hey, do you want to do this? Like, we're going to give you the out. They should probably tell the Oilers, be like, this is what he did. And this is then the Oilers, it's in their call. And if they were to go through that, I think it's honestly pretty embarrassing.
Well, and so the NHLPA, yes, you may have McDavid and Draisaitl, let's say, on board, but the NHLPA has to answer for all the players.
Yeah.
And treat them with some sort of equality about those type of issues. So, like, going back into even like the Columbus time, it wasn't necessarily like the Columbus players that it all started to filter out. It was friends or people that they knew.
It was Spain Chicklets.
That it all come out. And I think Bissonnette, like, part of that was text he got wasn't necessarily even directly from Blue Jackets players.
Yeah.
And there was even divide about what may have happened. The veterans had a different interpretation or experience, like Goudreau.
And the GM,
right?
Kekalainen was a guy who had his phone taken away by. But you're right.
Right. Versus the younger players. But did was his approach different? Probably.
Yeah.
Versus what we know about how he treats his guys. He knows where his bread is buttered. And I'm sure, like, Babcock is a very charismatic guy. Like, when you watch, and I can only speak for myself in this, but when I watch, his different press conferences he's done, different interviews, like, he's an engaging guy.
Yeah.
And he knows how to be an interesting communicator. But behind closed doors, it's a pattern of behavior that goes back to day one in Anaheim, back in 2002.
It's not like this is a one-time incident.
Right.
Yeah.
The Columbus thing was a second or third chance already after how ugly it got at the end in Toronto.
Yeah. Aaron asks in the chat, he's like, what is stopping the Oilers from just hiring him? Does every coach need to be given a stamp of approval from the NHLPA? No, literally one does currently, and it's Mike Babcock. But they do need to be given the approval, from my understanding, is from the NHL. The NHL has to approve the hiring.
Well,
if I'm not mistaken. And also,
yeah.
too, I think what's kind of preventing this is there was, like we just said, there was an investigation that was never completed that the NHLPA wanted to put through. So that's why I don't think the Oilers necessarily, like, I think it's been worded like they went to the PA and was like, we need your approval to do this. I think it was kind of like they probably went to the NHL and was like, we want to hire Mike Babcock. We know this happened previously. What do we need to do? And then that's how the PA was brought in. That would be my assumption, at least.
I wouldn't go all this far, or no one else would, to say that, Babcock is definitively the Oilers' choice. I would have still even read this, that the Oilers are exploring, let's say, and they want to find out what they don't know and what the PA and the league knows about them. But Stauffer comes out on Monday after and says unequivocally, 100%, it is inevitable. He's the guy, and he's everybody's guy. So to believe Stauffer is the most plugged in Oilers guy,
is saying that. It's very interesting.
Either it is four-dimensional chess that they're trying to galaxy brain Vegas into somehow releasing Cassidy, then Babcock is their guy.
Yeah, I hope they're not galaxy braining, because they don't have one. Continuing on with the news stuff, Frank was on this stuff very much this morning as well. So if the Oilers elect to continue down the path with Mike Babcock, sources say the PA is in receipt of significant additional claims from their own investigation with players that were not publicly reported in 2023. Those claims were presented to the NHL prior to his resignation. He also went on to say, furthermore, sources indicate that asking players to see photos is not what ultimately resulted in Babcock's resignation. It was the subsequent allegations reported below that cost Babcock his job. So, like, there's so much more to this that we just don't know. And they were basically, Columbus and everyone was just basically told, like, let's just shut up about this. Everyone thinks it's the photos. it looks weird and we get it, but like there's so much more and we just can't reveal. I'm very curious, obviously, and I don't really want to speculate too much on like what it could be, but it's just, again, like just another layer to all of this. And it's just like, we all thought for the past 3 years that it was him scrolling through phones.
Right.
And now we're finding out this. Does it not make you think like, well, what else is there? Because there's clearly a lot. It feels like you could write a book that you could read and then tell me about.
How do you, prior to training camp, have this many things come out, or like that could have, before they even dropped the puck on a single game? It wasn't just the phones. It could have been another allegation here. This is just so messy. Why would you want any part of this?
Here's a good one from Hartwell, who I'm just going to kick out the chat after this because he just seems like a moron. You guys are complaining about his treatment of players, and it's Franson, Commodore, old Modano, old Chelios, LOL. Who gives a shit about them? What about Lidstrom and Daxu? How come they don't hate Babs? Because they were the best players on the team. And it wouldn't help Mike Babcock to be bullies to his best players on the team. He bullied a rookie Mitch Marner. All these rookies who were on Columbus, I believe Adam Fantilli would have been around that time. I'm assuming he's one part of this. Kent Johnson, the future of the franchise. And he didn't give a shit. And also, too, those guys are legends of the game. I mean, not Mike Commodore, of course. And, like, Franzen's a great player. He's not a legend of the game. But, like, you have no respect for Mike Modano and Chris Chelios, the guys who laid the foundation for so many players. And, like, Modano, obviously, one of the greatest Americans ever. People argue he's the best American player ever.
One of them, yeah. He's on the short list.
Either way,
yeah,
incredible player. One of the best the game has ever seen. And Mike Babcock couldn't have the respect to playing for one extra game. And Chelios has come out and said, like, all his stuff. And it's just like, get your head out your ass, man. Like, we literally talked about Mike Commodore yesterday being like, he bullies the medical and equipment staff. And it's not even people like just in the room. And it's
he's ranked. He's asked trainers to rank.
That was it. Yeah, that was. I couldn't remember what it was.
I went back into more so like the Toronto exit and what came out there and listening to clips. Day one when Spezza signs for league minimum, right? In Toronto, and home opener. He's under the impression he's in the lineup. That's the way it was all been presented. His family's there, and then he's scratched before. There is a lot of psychological head games that are going on. It's one thing, like we say about, let's say, a Torts or even a Daryl Sutter or something like that, that is a hard ass, that will, come at you, get loud, get in your face perhaps about what you need to do. But then there's a difference between that and saying all that and then saying, let's say, that you didn't do that. Yeah. Or playing these head games that you can't believe what he's telling you. It creates low team morale. There's a lot of people that believe that, his team should have been more successful than they were. But when you have a culture where you can't trust your teammates because some are getting sewered against other guys, or they don't trust the coach that they actually have the best interests at heart, that's where there creates... if there's an opportunity to trade for someone and they've got a no trade clause, and they're like, well, why? I'm hearing what's going on there. Why would I want to sign up for that?
And that seems to have kind of been happening a little bit. Friedman, as we continue the news, was kind of reporting, and maybe I misinterpreted this, but it seemed like people had already called the PA and been like, is this really happening? Because I wouldn't want my player to go there. And I think Frank said on his show the other day that the Oilers are quickly becoming like not a destination city. That's not a good thing with the timeline they have. A couple of comments here. We'll get to Super Chat really quickly, but one thing I just wanted to read was Mike said, you guys are missing the boat. The problem is not the coaching or the management, it's the owners. The team needs a new owner. It starts from the top. Elliot Freeman has been very strongly stated on his show. This is Daryl Cates. Daryl Cates is the one who wants this. I would assume Paul Coffey's kind of involved in this too. Obviously, Harrison's involved greatly, as we all know. It was
the first name listed in Stoffer's salvo was that he met with the owner. And I think Cates is driving the bus.
And I think you're right, Mike. And Freeman reported again that, like, this is kind of the thing with Knobloch too. Like, it was more of a Cates idea. Cassidy trying to get him ahead of firing Cates was a bit of a firing Knobloch was a Cates idea. Like, it's not a coincidence. That's all I'll say. J Rock is in super chat. All our super chats go to the Ben Stelter Foundation. So thank you for your $4.99, J Rock. The people need to toughen up, Camp. Don't seem to understand that it doesn't matter if you make $30,000 a year or $3 million. No one should be tortured at work. And I just can't wrap my head around how people can't understand that side of it. Like, you wouldn't want to go to work if every single day you knew that you were just going to get bullied by your manager, in this case, coach. It's just not something that no one should have to go through. And I just can't believe the Oilers have want to do this. And getting a hard-ass coach, I don't think is a bad idea. I think the Oilers probably do need that, which is something we should talk about too a little bit later. But it's just like, you don't need a guy that's going to make your life a misery, make everyone's life a misery. There's a lot of other things to it. We'll save a little bit of Babcock talk, because I just want to mention one other thing in the news, and then we'll get to some of the questions that were asked from the Spotify listeners and people who weren't able to get to the live show the other day too. So I only listened to 32 Thoughts, the Oilers part today, but Dennis Bernstein, who's been on the show many times, we all love him, tweeted out that Freeman said on his show that the Oilers had interviewed Jim Hiller.
Right.
Which...
Former Babcock assistant.
Was he really?
In Toronto.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
That is interesting for a couple of layers. One, the Oilers smoked him how many years in the playoffs? And two, they came out and said, we need guys of experience and who would won a Stanley Cup. Jim Hiller doesn't really have that. Did he win a Stanley Cup as an assistant? Did I miss something? Like, I would
have to look at the full. I'd have to regale myself on the Hiller resume, which I haven't kept.
You have not kept quite.
As we entered the Babcock zone and threw out a lot of names, I didn't give the devil his due in Jim Hiller.
He never won. He's never been it past.
So a Wings assistant came to Toronto from 2015-16 to 2018-19. Was an Islanders assistant for 1, 2, 3 years. Those were the years under Trotz.
Yeah.
That the Isles had some deep runs. Then a Kings assistant for 2 years, and a head coach for 2.5 years there. So
unless they're just trying to get secrets.
I listened a bit to the Babcock.
No stone left unturned. You never know.
Right.
That's
no
fine.
such thing as a bad question.
Babcock gets introduced in Toronto, and he's talking about Jim Hiller, and it was mind-blowing from what we think of Jim Hiller, because he was like, Jim Hiller, he's thinking offense all the time, Jim. And, he said that Jim's thinking about offense all the time, and that they think about opposite things, and so it was great. Well, what we know about Hiller was not thinking about offense.
Yeah, not that I remember.
Kings. What?
Dell put in interviewing him for the defensive coach. I mean, maybe they were looking as like an assistant thing.
He's an offensive guy, apparently. I don't know.
I don't mind that they just interviewed everyone, I guess. Like,
they should. This was what this was about.
Yeah.
The whole idea of, okay, now we're going to cast a wide search. Those were Bowman's words. We're going to have a wide search for a head coach. And we were told along this process, look, okay, interview. Find out things. It's been 7 years since they had like a public search for head coach, not since they hired Dave Tippett. So use this time. Talk to a lot of people. But now they've used 80% of the time. They still got time to go. You might actually find out an answer about Bruce Cassidy. And you're like, no, let's go Babcock.
Yeah, because everyone else was just clamoring for Mike Babcock to be the head coach.
When I think you should, if you want to get back at Vegas, you should be phoning towards his agent every day, bugging him, saying, hey, have they given your client any indication about
what's happening?
What's going to happen here? Hey, Kelly, while you're contemplating the Cassidy permission, I think we'd like to talk to Ryan Craig as well, your AHL coach.
Yeah.
Are you going to sit back and potentially deny not a lateral move for Bruce Cassidy, another head coach, but a promotion perhaps? They can't have every coach, okay? So make
Unless
them
they
tell us
can.
which coach they're not going to take.
List them.
And list them. Exactly. Which coaches do you want? Like, let's figure that out if we've waited this long. You still have time. It's June 10. Now you're going to go into an investigation with the National Hockey League that could take how long? How long is that going to take?
Apparently 3 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Okay, let's move on. Obviously, you guys left us a bunch of questions yesterday and the day before. This is the comment section, we'll call it. Brought to you by the Prairie Toyota dealers. Looking to dominate off the ice as much as your team does on it? That's a funny line to read today. Check out the Toyota Tacoma. Standard I-Force engine boosts an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. In fact, it's the most powerful Toyota ever. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Visit them at shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Prairie Toyota dealer. All right, Aaron, what did they lay on us?
All right, so it was nice to hear from a lot of you. There's a lot of the
Yes, thank
same
you.
sentiment, I would say, going on in here. The one where when people say that if they're going to stop watching the Oilers entirely, I don't believe you. I don't believe you when you say that. But I do feel like this is the furthest we've gotten to that point because there's been a lot of moves like this. So a lot of these comments that I got here are from before this morning when Frank decided to come out and drop a bomb that there is significant additional claims.
We will not hold that against people who are like, they should just go for it.
Exactly, because there's a lot of that going on.
A lot of stuff has developed since, which is nuts.
It's moving parts. So, top one, Andy. I can honestly say that if this happens, it'll be the last game I watch. And to be clear, I haven't missed a game in 10 years. Gentlemen, do you believe Andy?
I believe Andy's very upset, and I think he should be with his team. But I think he'll probably watch again.
Yeah, maybe eventually. I will say, just in general to that point, I do think there's a growing apathy or dislike of not just this.
They're getting hard to defend, dude.
But Oilers in general. Mm-hmm. I think there was some of that in the playoffs when people saw what the prices were. Ticket prices were. I think there was some of that when you have just the way they played at home all year. They did not look good at home throughout the season. And then you have the Bowman stuff and on and on and on, right? Mm-hmm. So I do think there's that growing sense that as a fan you're getting priced out even more if you want to go attend. And then you're getting frustrated with some of these moves. So I do buy into that because I've heard it from a handful of different people who, were either longtime season ticket holders or, would like to spend their money that maybe they're combing that back a bit.
What else we got?
And Andrew said we don't need to watch all 82 games. 84 games next season.
Yeah.
Buckle up for 2 more.
That's right.
Get ready. Pre and post coming at you. Next one. Why would Babcock be objectionable to the NHLPA, but not Bowman and Quenneville? Now we got a little bit more reasoning to that today from Frank when he said there's significant other claims that were more than just a photos type situation, but Gord's saying, hey, Bowman and Quenneville are back.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. There are obviously different circumstances. The stuff that happened in Chicago was illegal.
It was a crime.
Yeah, it was a crime. So the fact that they both have positions in the NHL is questionable. That's what I got.
Fair question.
I think this is...
It's a good question. The only reason the PA is involved with this is because, one, Bowman and Quenneville, they both serve punishments, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, this is just it. I think the difference is that they went through an investigation. There was a period where, okay, this is the findings of the report. Here's how long you're going to be out of the mix. And so, in a sense, they've, quote-unquote, served their time. Whereas Babcock, because it was a resignation, right, it's the timing. The league actually hasn't ruled on that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the difference.
So that's probably the difference. I don't really want to dig into that because I've not read the report. I've just heard what people said, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Aaron?
And once again, I don't even know if I didn't really want Bowman to be the Oilers
No,
GM.
I mean,
And I stand by that stance after what I've seen happen.
as a current GM, I'm not sure how much I love him.
Yeah. Al Bundy, shout out, said, LOL, a second chance? Babcock's last stop was like his third chance after being exposed as a shitbag.
This might be his fifth chance, actually, if you want to go all the way back to. And basically every team he's coached, crazy.
I just kind of have the stance always where I'm like, if it looks like shit, it smells like shit.
It's probably shit.
Probably shit, and you don't really need to overthink it that much. But it sounds like we're overthinking.
Yeah. Sorry, which question was that one again?
That was the third.
Oh, I think it's because on the show, Landon, who we put him on the spot. This happened when we were live with Landon, and I think he just misspoke. To be honest, Andy, is that the name or whatever it is? Al Bundy. I think Landon just misspoke. I don't think it was anything personal to be like, I defend him, whatever. I think Landon knows the repetition. He played under him.
True. Richardson said if they hire Babcock, he's done. He is not good in so many ways, and now he's out of touch. It would guarantee that McDavid would leave at the end of the season. Makes me sick that they are even considering this former coach. Well, according to Stoff, McDavid signed a 7-year extension, so
Yeah, no kidding.
who needs to be worried?
Yeah, that was interestingly timed. Interestingly timed. Like,
Normally,
I
would be all over that news if Stoff said that, and I'd run with that. But
I can understand the thinking of why Babcock is valued in their eyes, because this is going to be a very pressure-packed season, and Mike Babcock has shouldered pressure in order to win. Although it's been said, like 2010, for example, like what a great hockey team. Don't get me wrong. Like the Team Canada, but they did win, right? And there's been a lot saying that, well, anybody can coach Team Canada and they can win. Well, John Cooper just did, and they didn't win. Now, it was one game, of course. Like, I'm not saying John Cooper's a bad coach. That's not my point. Is that, and Babcock had done that at various levels on the whole lead up. So I can see definitely from the resume and from what hockey people know about him, like he can game plan, he can structure, he can adapt, but can he still do that, for one? And does all of him as a human being and how he treats his players, how he treats fellow employees, does that make him, just too far beyond the pale as a choice? But I can see why they would contemplate this. I can see it, but now there's all these barriers and hurdles that are being put up. Plus, why now? That's what I go back to. I don't understand the timing of this. When, at least when you say, okay, Bruce Cassidy, he coached in the league last year. People have been coached. It's been a while for Babcock. So, again.
We got a couple more, Aaron.
yeah, we do. This top one made me laugh from Frank Tanky because he said this was already disproven. Someone talked to Babcock about it, and he has zero interest. Yeah, no. Life comes at you fast, Frankie Tanky.
You were right, Frankie Tanky, if you're living 2 weeks in the past.
Yes.
Darren Dreger, for people who don't know, and Frankie clearly does, did come out and say when there was initial reports, I think mid-May, whenever it was like, Babcock is retired, he has no interest in coming out, and then however many days, weeks later, he came back and it was Dreger again being like, well, the Oilers interviewed him, and it looks like they're going to hire him. So it was not quite disproven. It was disproven and reproven.
By the
and
same
now
guy.
it's being redisproven.
The
Approved.
news cycle is moving quick here,
Yeah,
okay? Even from when you would have had your show yesterday to now.
Everything's
because
died.
last night the reports and then this morning. And I'm sure the league is just sitting back saying, yes, during one of our greatest Stanley Cup finals ever, we are totally loving that most of the that a good chunk of the conversation is regarding Mike Babcock.
Yeah, they're thrilled about that.
The Red Wings are like, I like that there's no one talking about us losing Dylan Larkin.
Dylan Larkin, yeah. This has been a lifeline.
This also comes right after the others had the Cassidy stuff, which has disrupted Vegas's whatever. We don't think it is, but like that's what they're saying, right? And now the others are doing this. Like, why are you just adding layers of shit to your already big pile of shit?
Oh, Vegas doesn't want a distraction? Well, the others say, let's create the biggest
one.
distraction.
Move over,
possible.
Toronto. We got a new center of the hockey universe, baby. Next one we got here from Oilers YMM. Everyone praises Vegas for making moves regardless of fan perception and wishes their team would do the same. The Oilers start doing it, and the crybabies come out in full force.
Hell yeah. I think it's interesting.
I think Andy's point following it does kind of answer it. Andy said, many people are missing the whole point of why we're upset about this. This has nothing to do with winning a Stanley Cup. It has everything to do with the values of an organization.
Yes.
You don't trade cups for values.
I also think, too, and while Vegas is obviously ruthless and like doesn't really care about things, like, please correct me if I'm wrong, Carter Hart is obviously a controversial signing that they had.
I'd say so, yeah.
But that wasn't a part.
Okay,
I was
that
looking
wasn't
for
where you wanted
clarification
to.
on.
Okay, yeah.
But has there been other guys? Am I forgetting someone? Like, the way I kind of picture Vegas is like, we will do anything to win, but it's stuff like, we're just going to trade Fleury because we need the cap space. And
Yeah, it's cutthroat, not illegal.
Yeah, it's more
or not-
cutthroat. Yeah.
I guess, and once again, Bab, not illegal.
And like the Mark Stone stuff, it's like they're just kind of manipulating the rules. The Hart stuff is obviously the one at the moment that is like catching people's eyes. But Mike Babcock, the last time he was in the league, was under investigation. And I think, and also too, not that I'm defending this at all, but Carter Hart served his NHL punishment. He was banned until, what was it, mid-January, I think, early January, whenever it was.
Yeah, December, I think.
Was it December? So like he had that, like Babcock has not faced that punishment. So I think that's kind of the difference, I guess you could say.
Well, the difference is, like, look at the Oilers in a situation like Darnell Nurse, which who knows if that meeting's still happening this week. It's been quiet on that front.
Yeah.
But it's a situation more along those lines where it's like, look, we have to try and find a way to move you out. So what are you going to make us do? Can we come to an agreement here? What do you think? It's more along those lines. Or firing your coach with 10 games to go.
Yeah.
Or
It's
Marc-Andre
ruthless.
Fleury was an original Golden Knight, and he felt stabbed in the back. However, how they've treated players while they're there and while things are going on are part of the reason players want to go there. Right? Like, they have their standard and values. Yes, it's anything to win, but it is within a framework, and there is smart thinking behind it. Kelly McCrimmon's a lot of things, but he ain't dumb.
What is that one?
I just want to add, I see like there's points in here. They're like winning over everything in this league. And while, hey, yes, it's just not a guarantee that the man who hasn't coached in the NHL since 2019 is going to win. Like, in fact, when he was last in the league, he wasn't winning playoff series. Like, I feel like we're just choosing to think of the best of Babcock and not the most recent. Because I am all about wins at the end of the day. Like, everything becomes easier to swallow if you're winning. I just don't think it's a foregone conclusion that the Oilers will win with Babcock, and you're not always going to win. Like 31 teams lose in the league, but maybe you don't necessarily have a risk of also losing your culture and everything going up in flames, your Matt Savoys being stunted, or there's just risk. There's more risk here than I think people are being like, oh, you're just going to win.
Agreed. Someone puts in the chat, y'all Vegas would hire Babcock if they thought he could get them a cup. They didn't.
But yeah, I mean, that's
the thing. Like, every single team besides Colorado and Tampa Bay has had a job opening as a head coach opening, and everyone said no. And maybe he got an interview we don't know about. Who knows? But no one did. The Oilers are doing it for whatever reason. After 7 years, you said of the last time they went through this process, they decided that Mike Babcock was their guy, and I just think it's a very peculiar decision. Do we have a couple more?
Yeah, we can all disagree on everything that's going on in here, but the fourth point, there will be an ESPN documentary on the Oilers' legendary mismanagement since 2024.
Oh, man.
It's a hell of a tale.
Well, why not make it like more of a Celtic City 10-parter doc and go back, a decade and a half before that, right from the start of oil change. You could really make it a whole,
Yeah.
a whole thing. There are parts I will say, and again, there are things I could see working well with Babcock. For one, I don't think he would change the lines 50 times
Agreed.
in the season.
And
I think he
that
would
be good.
isolate. I think he would isolate roles on the team much better, and would probably, in some ways, empower certain bottom end guys.
Agreed.
Like that'll be. We'll see. I mean, we'll find out if he's actually going to be the coach. I do think there are aspects, and I do think if Babcock was hired, that there's a strong likelihood the Oilers have a very good season.
Mm-hmm.
But that could happen with a different coach as well, right? I don't think Babcock's the only one capable here, but he does have gravitas.
That's how we felt like right when Nobby took the Oilers to the Cup final. We kind of sat here and we were like, I also feel like Jay Woodcroft could have probably taken him to the Cup final. It's in that room. They have good players.
Ryan says on what I just said about Babcock not getting hired by anybody else, said that's irrelevant. Every team could have picked Kirill Kaprizov. There are reasons why teams pick who they pick. Yeah, and there's reasons why they don't pick him. And a lot of the draft stuff and Kaprizov, I don't think these are really relevant to each other at all. So I'm not going to answer the draft stuff. Just on the coaching stuff, teams didn't pick Mike Babcock because they knew the headache that would come with it. And the Oilers have hired Mike Babcock for 2 days, according to some people. And they're already in knee-deep. And it's just getting deeper and deeper for them. So, come on, Ryan.
Wouldn't
Like,
go
live
away.
in reality for a second, man.
Which
Jeez.
wouldn't go away. Let's say they investigate and the league says, you know what? Nothing here. And if you want to hire. Well, there's going to be, like, if it was already a pressure-packed season.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's going to be a whole nother level. And Babcock has to go over and above, like, in terms of behavior, in order to ensure that there isn't going to be a scenario like this.
Yeah.
That comes up again, right?
Ryan says, or it wasn't the right fit for their team at the time. I mean, you can go look around the league and just look at some of the hard-nosed coaches that have been hired who would probably fall into the same category. I mean, Craig Berube would be considered a hard-nosed coach, I would think. Toronto obviously didn't go back to Mike Babcock, but like these other guys, whatever, it doesn't matter. Is there any more?
Dave Hackstall's apparently, you know.
What was he, Seattle?
Well, he was in Philly first and then Seattle.
Yeah. Like,
and then he terrorized the Colorado power play this season. So
right.
I don't think he's getting a job.
The only other ones were Matt Savoy, get ready to make a list, buddy, which I stand by. We need to make more lists in this, and we can rank maybe the team as well. And just a lot of people, like, and I don't know, we kind of discussed it as well in the office. Like, somebody just put in the chat, all the pro Babcock guys are going to have a different tune when he starts bullying Nuge. I worry, I'm like, man, when Bouchard makes a big error, how's he going to handle Mike Babcock coming down at him? But he's also pro, so who knows? Yeah. It's a mixed bag, I'll say, of reviews, and keep coming back because it feels like every 12 hours we're getting a new update.
Do you want to do Spotify comments quickly, and then we can do, I think we should talk about, like, what's next?
Yes.
There is a possibility, and it seems like the Oilers, if they have any sense about them, probably won't go down this avenue. So should we just talk about what they could do next? Well, let's get to Spotify because Davin's asking me. I think there was a few comments from the other day's show. I'm assuming Davin left a comment. That's why he wants me to read them. Ryder, can you read them? I can't see shit.
I don't understand why the Oilers would try to hire Mike Babcock when John Tortorella just said that him and Kelly McCrimmon have an agreement that he's done with Vegas at the end of the season. Why not hire him?
Did they?
Simon said Babcock is better.
I mean, I think Simon's probably right, but
one's been in the Cup final more recent than another.
One's in the league.
I think if you were doing your due diligence as the Oilers, you should talk to Tortorella.
I agree.
My biggest issue with all of this is the timing and not figuring out either to make Vegas more uncomfortable about what they're doing or to potentially talk to the guy who helped the team just win a Stanley Cup and say, hey, what's going on? What do you think? What do you think about the Oilers? Torts would be the first head coach since Scotty Bowman, if he was to win a Stanley Cup, to win with two different teams. Right.
I mean, I think like Ty was talking about Torch yesterday and his recent resume of playoffs. I think one, you need to look at the teams he was on. Like that Philly team they kind of did punch above their weight for the one season, were in the playoffs for a long time and then fell off. I just think the fact he's in the league is way more relevant to all of this for the Babcock argument against it. What were the other ones, Aaron?
People are calling us woke as well.
Woke?
So there's that.
Yeah.
I don't know if,
Yeah,
I'll take that.
bullying's
First
Don't they know my views on provincial?
bullying's a pretty woke stance. Call me woke all you want.
I'm just going to. This was the other episode. Bub Willie. Honestly, can we discuss that Cates might be the problem? The similar issues of the last couple GMs and coaches are similar. Seems like someone else up the chain is making decisions. Also agree with Liam. The team needs to focus on long-term success, not just keeping McDavid for 2 years.
Well, did you not hear the team's going to explode, actually, at the end of the season? As soon as McDavid walks out those doors of Rogers Place, the others are done. Vamoose. At least that's what it feels like to me. I think Cates is becoming a problem and needs to maybe chill out a little bit. What do you think? I think sorry, before I ask you to answer again. We work with Jay Downton. And when we go to Jay with ideas, Jay comes with us for ideas, a very collaborative effort. And that's awesome. But I also know that like if Tyler and I had an idea on the show, we would have the power to do that because Jay trusts us in our positions. Jay pretty much never tells us what to do on this show.
I have never once been told what I had to say or do on one of these shows ever.
I shouldn't even say pretty much never. It's never happened. Obviously, we ask him stuff and he gives his input, and that's awesome, but it's a very collaborative effort. This doesn't feel like a collaborative effort. This feels like Daryl Case is like, you guys should interview Mike Babcock.
Yeah, I think, Cates is very involved. I mean, it's his right as the owner. It's his organization. But there's been a lot of areas where Cates' involvement, his fingerprints being on a move, has come back to hurt the hockey team, right?
Like,
in order to win, right? So.
And we don't people don't like Stan Bowman. I get it. But in his hockey career, he has proven he can win a few things. He's won 3 times. And if you want to hire these guys, and Babcock this case, Bowman this case, whoever else you have, and it's the reason you're hiring them is because they won Stanley Cups, then you should trust them to make Stanley Cup winning decisions. That's my thought on it. Any other ones?
Couple more here, Frederick. If it is true that the leadership group has backed the Babcock idea, I don't want to hear a single word about someone wasting Connor McDavid's years in Edmonton because he'd be just as responsible as Bowman, Jackson, or Cates. I really hope the NHLPA shuts this down. 2 days ago he asked for this, so he's getting his wish. It seems like this organization, including the star players, need to be saved from themselves by an external party. Every time you think it can't get worse from here, the Oilers find a way to make it happen. Menzies, you wrote that article this morning.
Well, they could be saved from themselves. It was kind of the idea of the headline. The players' reputations will be somewhat involved if Babcock is hired and whatever happens, right? Like them giving the thumbs up, as it were. If there are situations that happen in that locker room, or if it fails spectacularly for whatever reason, like some of that reputational stuff may fall back on McDavid and Draisaitl. If it goes very well and they win, then everyone's happy in that sense, if it all works out, right? But in a way that it has been said by Stauffer and others, vehemently that no, they did not ask management to fire Woodcroft and to hire Knobloch. That was not a player idea. It's now very much the opposite here, where the players have to be involved and thumbs up, thumbs down, all of that. So look, again, it has been pointed out, if some of the players are on board, that's going to be enough of a mandate. I mean, they're not going to have a straw poll with all 20-odd players on the team on a hire, but that just goes to show how divisive Babcock can be, right?
Yeah, definitely. Another super chat here from Dancing Baby Bins. $2 for Ben Stelter Foundation. Thank you, Dancing Baby Bins. Give Todd Nelson a second chance. Should have been here. I see what you're saying. I think Todd Nelson did well that however long he was in Edmonton. I just don't think they clearly do not want to go down that path of like first time. I know it would be second time, but like rookie-ish head coach. They want a guy with experience, and I think they're right to do that, and the hard-nosed type thing. I don't think Todd Nelson's the guy, but I want to ask you, Menzies, because there's a lot of stuff coming out on like the Oilers players want to be held accountable. They're tired of the way things were ran before. They don't want to have as much power as they had. Maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but I'd like you to back me up if I'm not. Maybe they should have just shut up and let the coach do his thing as well a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if they want a guy that's going to come in and just hold them accountable for everything. Like and when I say that, I think of like putting together lines, like how players playing with who. And like, I don't think the team was making the lineup. Obviously, Knobloch had that power, but it just seems like it feels to me like they want someone to come in to completely overrule the leadership group, but the leadership group wants that. Do you think that's fair?
Well, yeah, like I do think I used an analogy. I don't know if I'll use it here, but you are asking the leadership group in a way to consent to be, coached harder or demanded more from.
Yeah.
With I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say what my analogy was, but. It's something that those players just could have done
themselves
anyway.
Yeah.
Right? They need to be because the idea of bringing in a hard-ass coach implicitly isn't about Josh Szymanski isn't doing what he needs to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's in part to, that the top players will also, in a sense, shut up and listen and won't mind if maybe a couple minutes come off their ice times, right? And if there's things that they need to do that they'll do them. I understand they need that coach there, but it just goes to how strange this whole process is.
Yeah,
right?
A couple of comments here after that. Davin said they're trying to push themselves. I think that's fair, I would think, but also too, I would say these are NHL players who, if their aspirations truly are to win a Stanley Cup, then they should know how to push themselves, and it shouldn't take someone yelling at them in practice to skate a little bit harder from time to time. And just as an example, there was another one here too. They want someone to lead the strategy so they don't have to carry the mental load on top of playing. I hate to break the news to you, but the Oilers didn't get to the Stanley Cup final in back-to-back years because Chris Knobloch sat back and let Connor McDavid draw tactics on the whiteboard. You know what I mean? Like, you want to talk about strategy and stuff. Like, Chris Knobloch was
king of adjustments, game 4 to
did
7.
Really good for 2 years, and it fell apart for the one. It's obviously the one that got him fired. But I think Knobloch was more than capable of strategizing and to take the mental workload off. Like, I think we overstate how heavily involved McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman are in terms of like strategy, like he's talking about. Like, I think they obviously respect their coaches enough to let them coach them and everything. I think they just wanted like a different kind of voice. But from the news that's coming out, the one that just keeps getting to me is like they wanted someone to hold them accountable. And it's like, hold yourself accountable. You're in the league for years now. And the thing that keeps going around is new coaches, new goaltending, trade away the star players, see what else you're going to rebuild it a little bit. But it's like, the core's still here, and I'm not blaming the core by any means, but it's like, you kind of a common denominator after a few years. It's like, maybe this is on you a little bit more than you want to agree to as well.
Well, everyone's got to take some of the responsibility of how they've gotten to this point, right? And so that's part of it. That's part of it for sure. Look, and I can see why the players would find, like, those two in particular, especially with Zach Hyman's voice, because it seemed like it went well. Hyman really got his NHL career cooking under Babcock.
For sure.
And the Hymans just hired Babcock's son to coach in Brantford. There's a relationship there. So I can see why, because Babcock has the ring. And that's where it seemed like this list has been shortened, because they want someone who has been there and done that. And that is something that has been missing. It was missing from this team last year. I think on the ice in particular was a guy who had won before. I think that does matter. There hasn't been a team since the 1989 Calgary Flames that didn't have a cup winner on it when they won the Stanley Cup. Corey Perry, there's a lot of things. He's probably cooked now as a player. But I think having someone in that room who's been there and done that is intensely valuable. And I think it's probably also the reason the team will listen to Paul Coffey when he speaks.
Agreed.
Because it's like, oh, yeah, look at my trophy case.
Yeah.
Right? I'm amongst you. I've been there and done that. So, you know, I just think it's a very tenuous time. Like, there's so much pressure on who this coach is going to be, but maybe there shouldn't be if Stoffer's to be believed that McDavid's going to sign a 7-year extension.
And maybe
we all need to just there's no pressure, relax.
No pressure. We're good. We're chilling.
Because it's been this now inflated, well, not inflated, in fact, the opposite, the press timeline of they need to win by X date or else.
Yeah.
Right?
Soggy is in. He said, read the comments. We will hold you accountable. Okay. I didn't see your comment earlier. I've been reading comments all show. Dr. Scruffy is in. He said, that's not how pro athletes work, man. Jackson pushed Jordan and the Bulls, and the coach is there to see and point out things you, the athlete, don't see in the moment. Agreed. But Michael Jordan wasn't a great basketball player only because of Phil Jackson. They worked well together, of course, but like, you want to talk about the opposite of it? Okay, well, what about all those stories of Kobe Bryant not going out with his teammates, meeting up at 5 a.m. and dragging those guys? Like, I don't think Phil Jackson was there in those moments. You know, like, I don't really want to
come from a player as well. The Mamba mentality. Kobe was a coach on the floor,
and he did it. He held himself accountable. I don't really want to go into back and forth of.
You're both making good points.
You have a point. I have a point. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. We should probably get to the first question.
Let's get to the first question.
We gotta find a different way to say it instead of the first. Just the question.
The last question,
the big
typically.
Question,
this segment is a presentation of Capital GMC Buick. Check out our extensive inventory. I'm never going to break the stigma of me not being able to read them right. Check out their extensive inventory of top quality vehicles like the 2026 GMC Terrain Denali or the 2026 Sierra Denali Ultimate. Capital GMC Buick is Edmonton's highest volume GMC dealer and the #1 certified pre-owned dealer in Alberta. Check out their dealership on 34th Ave Northwest or online at capitalgmcbuick.ca. Dr. Scruffy is in. He said, I agree with you. It's both. The first question and the last of the show.
We only have answers here, no questions.
What do they do now? Like what? Like,
well,
I don't think Mike Babcock will be the next head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. I just can't.
You don't?
No, I don't. And maybe that's just a bit too... Maybe I'm putting too much belief that the Oilers can look at themselves in the mirror and be like, okay, we got someone to stop us. We're good now. I don't know. It's just kind of how I feel about it. I feel like they've made a bad call. They're going to get out of it, and they should. But I'm starting to think that you might not think that.
Well, that I might not?
What do you think? Tell me what you think.
Well, I was just going to follow up. Do you... Because here's the thing. The ball is seemingly in the Oilers' court here.
100%. They could stop this right now.
But if you're going to believe what Stoffer's point was, this is 100% their guy. then they would surely welcome an NHL investigation, right? If he's 100% the guy. So I'm curious, do you think the Oilers say, okay, you know what, fine, hand up. We thought about it, but you know what, you've shown us we're not going to do it. Or the league will say, okay, we're going to investigate, and then the findings of that investigation will preclude the Oilers from hiring Mike Babcock.
So you think they'll go through the investigation, the evidence will come out, he did A,
Well, I'm
B,
saying
C,
these
D.
are the two. These
Yeah.
are the two scenarios here, right?
Well, and part of me wants him to be like, investigate. Because I want to know. I want to know what happened. And that's just the curious side of me. It doesn't
Sure,
really matter.
yeah, absolutely.
But like that would be interesting. And then we could probably find out a little bit more how much this guy sucks.
Well, and then
But
we could
also,
know
too,
once for all about what happened in Columbus, right?
The other thing that's maybe an interesting layer of this is clearly the Oilers wanted to hire a head coach sooner rather than later. Otherwise, they might have waited for Cassidy. There's also the angle of like maybe they weren't going to get him.
Do they get scared with Laviolette being off the board?
There's that side of it, but then also too, how far away is the draft here? A couple of weeks, whatever it is. You've mentioned it a couple times. This investigation isn't going to be like, can they officially hire Babcock and then the investigation begins, or is it like, here is our request to hire Mike Babcock pending approval of the investigation? That's how it goes.
That's where there's been, and again, it's early on this, and there's been, the wording's been a bit different between the insiders. So that I don't know. That I don't think we know. Where if the Oilers do hire, like Babcock, presumably, does he get to be? He's in all these conversations. They're all acting as if he's the head coach because they've hired him to be the head coach. But there's also this investigation going on. You know, it reminds me a whole lot of the Bill Peters Hockey Canada stuff. Because,
I don't recall.
Well, Bill Peters.
I remember the Bill Peters stuff.
You know, Keem Alou. But when that all happened, the Grand Prix Storm in the AJHL.
Oh, right.
Hired Bill Peters
As an advisor.
Totally.
It's
kind of, sort of.
Son was on the team, by the way.
He was an advisor. But they didn't make him the head coach because to make him the head coach would have prompted a Hockey Canada investigation.
Yes.
Now, who ran, Eric Thurston was the coach at the time. Now, who ran practices? Well, it was Bill Peters. Who was doing the pre-scout and cutting video? It was Bill Peters. But he wasn't the coach.
He was an advisor, obviously.
He was an advisor, and Eric Thurston was a coach. So they were able to sort of get around this without having the public reaction to it all,
right,
and everything else. And that was whatever it was. I can't remember the timeline.
Right after COVID, if I'm not mistaken,
yes.
This happened.
Yeah, and I mean Peters was on the bench during exhibition games.
Wow, he was advising.
Yeah, to advise. So yeah, I mean, there's just some similarities to what I remember of that situation. So
there is an option the Oilers have here, and I believe this was brought up, if I'm not mistaken, and we've seen him in our chat a few times. I believe his name now is Taylor Hall. Daryl Sutter an option for the Edmonton Oilers?
Yes.
Isn't that what Freeman said? I don't.
Well, Sarah Valley put out there.
Okay.
I do think Sutter's an option.
Okay.
I do.
Go on. You do your thing. And
I look.
I'm not against. Again, I just want to be clear on this. I am not against these old school coaches. Daryl Sutter has won 2 Stanley Cups. Went to one with Calgary in 04. The only thing I worry about with these guys is they have not been here. They're not here in Edmonton. But last time in the league was 2023.
Yeah, it was 23 for Sutter. That was his last season. It was a season at Calgary had just missed the playoffs.
I guess it's not that's not that far away.
No,
it's not that far away.
No, that's right. I mean, and it's certainly much sooner than when Babcock was on the bench. So no, I am. You could talk me into Daryl Sutter, absolutely. Absolutely, you could.
What do you remember about Daryl Sutter? Like,
Well-
where do you think he could work here?
Well, Sutter, like, you're going to play – the Oilers will become a checking team. You know, you're going to be you're going to be on the right side of the puck. Like, if you're chasing offense or not managing the puck, like, if there's going to be a Draisaitl backhand blind pass, you know, on random January day that leads to a rush or something, like, buckle up. But there was also, you know, I mean, the press conferences would be electric. Those were fun.
Ironically,
with Daryl.
because he doesn't say much.
Yeah.
But they would be.
Right? But, like, his defensive structure helped take that LA team that had talent in 2012 and before that season began was, I think, had the third or fourth best cup odds in the West that were struggling well out of the playoff picture.
Yeah.
They snuck into the 8 seed under Sutter
First 8
and
seeds
went on
on
the
the
run.
run.
Yeah. So, and then went through a 3-0 comeback in the first round, a 3-2 comeback after being down at Anaheim, and won the second cup in 2014 and played, I think, 26 out of 28 games. Now, they had a guy named Jonathan Quick.
Was he good?
I think he was, I think, you know, the Hall of Fame might even be getting involved.
With Jonathan Quick,
they
the former
might.
Blue Jacket.
They might.
Well, at
and
least
some
it's
have
not
said
the
that
fucking
too.
NHLPA getting involved. The Hall of Fame, much better people to be talking.
Mika Kiprusoff may have been a terrific goaltender. He may have helped a lot in 04. But that's going to be a problem for any coach they hire. Is that the Oilers goaltending is.
You don't think Jari's there?
I think there's been some I've had concerns. I'll admit, hand up, I've had some concerns about Tristan Jarry. Not saying he can't turn it around.
Oh, yeah.
But the Oilers, the structure they're going to play, like, it's going to be a bit more older school under Daryl Sutter about what areas of the ice that they value and how they're going to protect the puck and how they're going to check. Right?
Do you think the Oilers could do that? I feel like they probably have players right now. They obviously have skill guys, of course, but like they have guys who can play a checking game. Frederick, Podkolzin, Hyman, just to name a couple.
I think they can. I think that was the part of the reason why they went to the Cup the second time. I think they were a much better checking team in the 25 run, and you saw those guys that
2014 run.
No, sorry. I mean the Oilers.
Sorry.
I'm saying.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about LA.
Yeah. I'm saying with the Oilers the second year around, you saw a much better checking team. Like, you know, Adam Henrique was creating turnovers due to forechecking, right? And that was part of the reason they went on a 12-2 run.
I think as well with those Flames teams. That year the Oilers knocked out the Flames. They were good. They were a good team.
Yes.
They had 3 guys, 100 points. What was it? Lindholm, Gaudreau, Kachuk, obviously.
Yeah.
Guys like Coleman were
The
playing
3
well.
best plus minus is like post lockout.
64 for Gaudreau, 57 for Kachuk, 61 for Lindholm. Sorry, I misspoke. Lindholm had 82 points, but all 3 players had 40-plus goals.
Yeah.
Mangiapane had 35 goals.
Yep.
They had a lot of guys who were showing up, and that was like a team that was good, but I think they definitely overachieved. But then people...
Bad matchup, the Oilers. The speed against a slow Calgary D.
Yes.
Right?
But he got the best out of them. Is kind of the point. And
Yeah,
then the
I
year
think so.
after, it all just blew up in their face because everyone left. And they would just ask him, basically, Jonathan Huberdeau didn't work out. Tyler Toffoli was told to get a bigger role. You ask Lindholm to be this offensive guy that we all kind of knew he wasn't that guy, and his wingers helped him out. And I think it just fell apart from them. And Ryan said, "It's like the Oilers broke Calgary, then they broke Vancouver the next year. Calgary fell apart, but just looking here, I don't have these stats off the top of my head. In his first year with the Flames, they had 26 wins in 56 games. The next year, and they missed the playoffs, they had a .491 win percentage. The next year, they made the playoffs with 50 wins in a full 82-game season. Lost to the Oilers in 5. Probably should have been 6, to be fair. But he wasn't. And he was named the Jack Adams winner. But I think the one part that is very curious for me about this, he left the LA Kings in 2017. He did not return to the NHL until 2020. It's the same gap.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe he could. I haven't really heard his name.
Well, Daryl was sort of retired before LA hired him because Daryl took himself
2006, 2011. I didn't even look at that.
Well,
that's the gap. He was out of the game.
Well, but he was because he was still the Flames GM up until 09 or 10.
Oh, so it was only
he took himself off the bench.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
and he was still the GM, and that seemed like okay, Sutter's like going to be done as a coach.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be in management or an advisor or whatever else. As pointed out in the comments, the Oilers picked apart Sutter's system in 22. The Oilers have a much different complexion to their team as opposed to how that Flames team was built. Like they have a lot more speed.
It's kind of similar to Edmonton Vegas last season in a way. Like Edmonton Vegas this season would not have been 5 games. Absolutely not. I think Edmonton could have beat them, don't get me wrong, but that Edmonton team was so much different and that Vegas team was slower. And then they added guys like Marner and Dorofeyev got better, Brett Howden and stuff like that. They just evolved, and that's kind of what the Calgary series was in a way, I guess you could say.
Yeah, good Branson was playing a lot of minutes for Calgary. Zadorov, yes, but it was spinning like a top at times. Like it was tough because that Oilers team was really fast.
They were
faster than this current edition.
Definitely, they were exciting to watch.
But long story short, I'm intrigued by Sutter. Yes, absolutely.
Especially with the lack of options now. It's kind of Sutter or Berube. That's what it feels like to me. If they would, unless Cassidy becomes available, of course, then we'll go down that avenue. But I'm just thinking I'm going to have to live in the world of but I don't think Cassidy's going to be available.
You have to consider Tortorella. And
yes,
Tortorella could
point.
tell
That
you,
was a good one,
and
too.
Tortorella could tell you, I'm not moving to Canada. I didn't live in Canada when I coached the Canucks, whatever. But find that out.
Yeah.
Find that out.
Yeah. Anything else you would like to, any closing thoughts before we do our Bet365 stuff?
I mean, a lot can happen here in the next little while. I think the indication that we'll get is whether the Oilers, okay, this is the plan, the investigation will move forward, and that's what I guess will happen. Mm-hmm. I don't see the Oilers pulling out of this now, even though the league can, quote-unquote, save them from themselves. I think they're going to go ahead with it and find out what that requires. To go look at it, but I am, concerned that there was even more we don't know from those Columbus days, all 78 of them. And, you got to be concerned now about what you don't know. What you don't know, you don't know. You know what I'm saying?
No, you might never know.
All right. So,
yeah.
It's interesting.
Chainsaw has had many comments, and I haven't read any of them yet, but I'll read this one.
Oh, actually, I have another name.
For Chainsaw?
Sorry, not for Chainsaw. Read Chainsaw's comment.
No, you do yours.
Gerard Gallant.
Is he not in Shanghai?
Well, Gallant, no, he left Shanghai.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yes, he left Shanghai. His health appears to be better. He was on, I think, Leafs Morning Take last week or a little while ago. Gallant might be the next name that we hear percolate.
I think we might have to get out of the they need to have won the Stanley Cup part of their resume because they would basically only be able to pick Cassidy, Tortorella, Dan Bylsma, Scotty Bowman. What does that say? You can sense the frustration from Gallant?
Gallant told us he's fully healthy and looking to get back behind an NHL bench, but says nobody has reached out about any of the league's coaching openings.
Well, maybe he just needs to reach out.
Yeah, give him a call.
Send an email.
Phones work both ways.
Grab a phone.
That's right. And you know what? Maybe part of it, too, was he realized he was a hockey coach in Shanghai. And it's like, you know what? Maybe I'll just come back to North America.
But no one's calling. No one knows the time zone. Jared.
So, yeah.
Chainsaw. I'll read your comment.
Sorry, Chainsaw.
Don't apologize to him. Bring in the triple gold coach. Trade Howard, Savoy, and bring Kane and Perry in for one more run. Let's go, Oil. Thanks, Chainsaw. Just wanted to get that out there for people who were wondering what was going on in the chat.
Good comment, Chainsaw. Vander Kane, you think? What's the free agent market for Vander Kane, you think?
I think I could see a possibility. I could see him getting like a 2 or 3 mil.
Oh, you think a team will sign him?
I think a team would sign him, but I also think there's not the realm of like, oh, you're on a PTO, buddy.
Yeah.
But
I think he got his 1,000th. I think that's.
Davin said, let's get even slower. Hell yeah. Bruce Boudreau, I don't think they'll go down there. Bruce Boudreau is also 71.
Yeah.
He's not a young man, unfortunately, anymore.
Well, he's a few years away, and he can be the president.
Yeah, I say that as Daryl Sutter 67, but whatever. All right, bet 365. 3-goal early payout, 15 points in basketball, which is what we'll talk about quickly. Have you watched much of the NBA Finals?
A lot of it, yes.
I've watched every minute, and it is awesome. And this rain's happening, so that means I might not have to go to the farm tonight, which means I should be able to watch.
Daryl.
Yeah. So I should be able to get out of that. Maybe I'll have to go tomorrow. But it's been a great final so far. The Knicks are the favorite, minus 135 on the money line. Spurs plus 115. What are you hedging?
I think it's very intriguing. I kind of think the Spurs are going to even this up, and then this is actually going to be a road series.
I'm worried that this is Bucks Suns all over again.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges was up 2-0 in that series. And then they lost 4 straight.
Well, there was a revelation by the Spurs.
This is going 7.
There was a revelation by the Spurs during that Game 3.
Yeah.
They recognized that if Wembanyama is near the hoop,
a crazy little thing.
And if they throw the ball up into the air for an alley-oop toward Wembanyama, they can't really stop it.
Can't reach him. It might go in.
I would even say defensively, they were like, hey, you're just going to stand in the paint. And if Josh Hart does hit a 3, then he'll hit a 3. And it affects everything if Wemby's defensively in the paint. Good series. I say Spurs win tonight.
Interesting how the Knicks got like the OG game. They got the Josh Hart game. Like they got 20-plus point performances.
Jordan Clarkson game.
Yeah.
Landry Shamet's
that guy was balling.
Yeah, they got those, over and above type of efforts, right?
There was a moment, when what was that name? The guy's name? Landry Shamet.
Shamet.
When he went up to try and lay up on Victor Wembanyama, I just thought to myself, up until that moment, it's like, you're handling the ball a lot, man. Just go stand in that corner and get ready for a 3. And I know Brunson was like, surely there's somebody else that can handle
the exact moment you were talking about in that game, and it's like, you don't ever really want to go to the hoop, but you're going to have to eventually, and then that was a great reminder of why you never go to the hoop.
Just don't go.
Wemby.
Just stand there and shoot. You'd be better off trying to shoot over Wemby. Both are bad options. You're not going to be wrong.
Good. Defensive play.
But my goodness.
We have 2 terrific series going on. I mean, this has been one of the better years of both.
Yeah.
The NBA Final and the Stanley Cup Final are both terrific. Last night was probably the worst of the 4 Stanley Cup Final games, and it was still a very good game.
Also, I'm still complaining about no Sunday games. That was bullshit.
Unbelievable from the NBA.
They said that was the first time in the NBA since, I think, 1999. There wasn't an NBA Finals Sunday game.
Really?
It's always about Sundays for the NBA Finals.
Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. It's been the NBA Finals scheduled forever.
Silva's ruining the league. Surprised they didn't put it behind a paywall. You can watch on your
8 different streaming providers to watch it.
Yeah,
You got to get a certain Samsung fridge. It'll be on there.
Stupid league. All right. I think we're good.
Yep.
You're good? You
I'm good, yeah.
Happy hour today?
No, we're just doing this.
Right
we're not
on.
going to have one. I'm a little bit under the weather right now.
Okay.
And we felt like we were just going to repeat everything that we just said for this 60 minutes.
Makes a lot of sense.
Or 90 minutes, 85 minutes.
I make for a longer program. I do
I
stretch
prefer it.
it.
We're an hour. We promised people an hour 30. We gave it to them. All right, everyone. Lots of news. Hopefully tomorrow we don't have to talk about Babcock too much. Tyler's here. So we'll see you then. Oil up.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you enjoyed today's episode of Oilers Nation Everyday, make sure you hit the subscribe button here on our YouTube to not miss any of our content. We got you covered from interviews, insight, analysis, everything you need to stay up to date on everything around the team. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video.